Welcome to the show. My name is Inga. This is my show. That's my green screen that apparently shows something else. This is my halo. Do I still have the halo?
Oh, let me see.
This is my halo.
I don't see a halo
This is my belly. Both of these rings from the Discovery Shop for your entertainment, support cancer research. And my mother got this as a birthday at a birthday party when she was like 5. You know what it must have cost for somebody to buy a silver bracelet?
5 cents, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. In my wedding, I wore my mother's pearls from Japan. That she actually watched the pearl diver, and then got the pearls stringed, and those were her pearls, and I can't find them. Don't tell Mother. Do not tell Mother.
Well, I won't.
All right. Speaking of parents, happy birthday to my daddy.
Yay!
Yeah, he was born in 1940, so that would make him 78.
Yes.
Yes, because my mother turns 80 in September. That's right. She was a crib robber. My mother.
Cradle robber.
What's it called?
Cradle robber.
Cradle robber. Yeah. You know, last night I told Solomon we were talking about some issue. I don't know what it was, and I said, "Well, so and so really got the raw end of the stick." And he said, "I have never heard that term before." I said, "You've never heard that term before?" And I thought, gosh, he's 25. He's never heard that term before. And it was like 4 hours later, I'm banging on his door going, "Raw end of the deal. Raw end of the deal." And he was going, "Yes, I've heard of that."
You were thinking of short end of the stick.
Short end of the stick. But yeah,
raw end of the deal.
I just combined the two to save time. Anyway, I do welcome you to the show. Happy birthday, Daddy. I love you so. And you notice girls will always call their dads Daddy. But boys will call their mothers Mom. Yeah, you guys move past the mommy phase. We don't move past the daddy phase. You know why? Because we can make you do anything if we say Daddy.
That's right.
Are you kidding me? My dad could be 120, and I could be however much younger that I would be, and I would be going, Daddy. Yeah.
You know how I know that?
Because it works every time.
On me, and my daughter knows exactly what to say.
Daddy.
What do you want?
Yep. You'll do anything for us. We've got you right here. Right here. That's for dang sure.
And that's one of the issues my wife has with me.
Really?
You give her everything. Why won't you just say, I try to say no, but it just doesn't work.
My parents did. You know, interestingly, I think they knew, and this is no put down to my darling sister who's older than me and gorgeouser and thinner and fantastic and brilliant. But but they practically gave her everything. They bought her first car. You know what they gave me? A scooter.
Did it have a motor?
Yes.
Okay, well, at least it moved.
Why? Because my sister followed all the rules. She got up at 4:30 in the morning for high school. I was sleeping till 15 minutes till the bell rang, you know, stuff like that. And she got A's, and so they rewarded her, you know, appropriately. She got a job, so they rewarded her further. They paid for her college. Me? Oh no! Nobody paid for my college. And on the one hand, I think, well, my sister is like my oldest in that he follows all the rules, and so it makes you want to give them things. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, you know, I grew much stronger and independent. When you're a fat girl driving to Cal State on a scooter.
You had a comment. Steven said, I can't believe your dad is still teaching. He must have great stamina.
Do you know my dad? Does Steven know my dad?
It says here, I can't believe your dad is still teaching. He must have a lot of stamina from being a Marine.
Oh, Hoorah!
Hoorah.
He started out teaching at South High School in 1962. No, 64. 63, when they still had the Confederate flag as their mascot. Yeah. It's a long time. And so yeah, he's a Marine. I called him last night because I saw something odd. My dad used to be a first responder, and so I'm driving home, and I like to take surface streets, especially because when I get off of this gig, it's 5 o'clock. It's close to 5. You don't want to. Who wants to be on the freeway? I'd rather use up all the gas and drive on surface streets. Plus, you see a lot more, especially of homeless people, and they're always interesting to observe. I mean, what else are you going to do when you're backed up 5 blocks on California Avenue, right? So I chose to take California. Apparently the freeway was backed up. I don't know if it was a car accident. I have no idea, what it was that was going on. But there was a tow truck driver who was he was not going to get on the freeway. But then he moved over on California Avenue at Oak. He moved over to the right lane and decided to get on the freeway, to go southbound. So he turns on his lights, for whatever they're worth, and he starts to get on the freeway on the on-ramp, only there's no lane for him. Because of some kind of accident he's probably trying to get to, there's no, the traffic's backed up onto the on-ramp, right?
Oh, yeah.
So he created his own lane. And it made me think. I called my dad up because he used to be a first responder, and he knows everything. And I said, Daddy, are tow truck drivers first responders? And I told him the story, and he goes, he said, no, they're not, but just let him do it because he's probably on his way to clear up the mess that's causing the traffic. Mm-hmm. And that was fair, but that also seemed kind of dangerous to me. I mean, picture California and Oak at 5 o'clock or 5:15-ish, because I stuck around and swept. And I still see dog hair.
Well, the dog wasn't in today, so I don't know how it is.
I missed it.
How do you miss it?
Refuse I missed. Well, I got to bring in my sweeper thing or whatever they call it. Pick up all that darn hair. So, So anyway, it was an oddity to me. I've never seen a tow truck driver create their own lane. But if people were hurt or something, I'm glad that he was on his way to fight the congestion. And for our beverage today, we have from Walmart a sparkling cranberry raspberry water, which tastes like fuzzy water with something added, but they say it's all natural, so I'll take them at their word. I forget what I was going to say. Fuzzy water in my cranberry raspberry. I had a dream the other night that somebody bought me a soda stream. Have you seen those on TV? The soda streams?
Yes.
I want one. This has been an interesting day in terms of national news. I have officially, I know you guys know if you listen or watch that, and I'm sorry if you watch. How can you resist? This Russia thing has gotten so out of control, I've lost track of names. I don't even know where we are anymore. But yesterday, after I got off the air, these tapes were released, or a tape was released, of Donald Trump talking to Michael Cohen about paying somebody for something. Now, the good folks on Michael Cohen's side, who's a former lawyer, say that that's a conversation about, what was her name? Starlight Bubalik or something? What's her? Starweather Vane.
Oh, Stormy Daniels.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. They're saying it's about some woman who was writing a story that President Trump decided it would be better to just pay the gal for the rights to the story, which happens. I have a friend who got paid for the rights to a movie. He wrote the entire script. It was fantastic, and it never... He got money. Mm-hmm. He signed it over, but the film was never made.
And that does happen. It happens. Actually, it happens more often than people think.
Oh yeah, I bet it happens all the time.
It's called that a script gets optioned.
Right.
And so that a studio will have the rights to make the movie. And a lot of times, for whatever reason, it doesn't get done, but you get $5,000 out of it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for my friend, fortunately for him, he's had a great career as a filmmaker. And, I got to go to Paramount for a day and watch the table reading. Everybody at the table.
Oh, yeah. I've been to several of those.
Oh, my gosh. I laughed. I cried. It became a part of me, yada, yada. But unfortunately, it was a violent script. It was all to be filmed. Now we're talking 16, 17 years ago. It was all going to be filmed on body cameras, because there were undercover cops in the story, or from the liquor store.
Surveillance cameras.
Yeah, it was all going to be done by that. I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, unfortunately for him, even if they were ever going to make a movie, because he had his reading and they purchased it like 2 weeks before 9/11, nobody wanted violence after 9/11. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody wanted to see it.
There's actually an interesting rumor that Jackie Chan was, he had a script approved and he was set to film a movie where terrorists blow up the World Trade Centers. Yeah, no, and it just got shelved immediately after everything happened.
I've often, I've talked to my dad about the PBS series on Vietnam, which is now on Netflix. It's, what's his name?
Kim Burns.
Such a great series.
He's a very good documentarian.
And my dad stops at World War II and Korea. And I guess now in hindsight I get it, because he lived Vietnam. I mean, he wasn't there, but he lived that era. And I feel that way about like movies, like Nicolas Cage had a movie about 9/11. Others have had made-for-TV movies or real movies. I can't watch them. I was there. Right? So, any old who, where was I going with this? Oh! The tape recordings. I'm not going to say anything new here. Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen. I cannot believe. Who do you trust? You trust your pastor and you trust your lawyer. I have a lawyer. He's not a retainer, but he's like a really good friend, and a hardcore Christian and a theologian, in fact. And I know I can tell him anything. I cannot imagine how Trump must have felt realizing he was being recorded.
That was my immediate reaction when I heard about this was, isn't this under client privilege?
It should be, and apparently, from what I've been learning, it's not illegal, it's unethical. He might not even be disbarred for this. But I can tell you this. I understand now why people like Rand Paul suggest taking security clearances away from people. I've been bemused by this entire conversation because I don't get it. Every job I've ever left, I left the key behind. Right? Turn in the bathroom key, turn in the front door key, they change the code, right? Your fob doesn't work anymore, whatever it is. And that's just normal. I don't understand how having a security clearance for all of these former workers. I've heard it argued that it's a perk that they get for working for the government because their security clearance helps them get jobs. I'm sorry. If you were the Secretary of State under Barack Obama or Ronald Reagan for that matter, you've probably been offered a couple of gigs, right? with or without security clearance. And the other argument, and it's not a right, it's a privilege. The other argument I've heard is, well, people keep their whatchamajiggies for the purpose of consulting. How many consultants are there? How many people are out there consulting? Because when you've got, like my buddy Chad, who's a Army sergeant, retired, he still has security clearance. So how many people between Sergeant Chad and the President of the United States have security clearances so that they can consult? Now, clearly, I have a grandfather who worked on the atom bomb when he was a student in Chicago, getting his master's in chemistry. And I have a grandfather who worked at Lockheed in the Skunk Works program. And the reason I didn't know what either of them did, was because they didn't talk about it. Now, they had to have some level of some clearance. I don't know about my grandpa on my dad's side with the Manhattan Project or the atomic, bomb. I don't know. But I'm assuming he did because he never talked about it. My grandfather, Olson, my mother's dad, never talked about building the navigation system for helicopters that flew to Iran to rescue hostages. Never talked about it. The helicopters failed, but the navigation system worked. And I didn't know about that until I had children. And he just mentioned it in passing. Maybe his security clearance was gone by then. He consulted on the Hubble, and he was the navigational engineer on the SR-71, the bomber, the stealth bomber. I could go down the list. Never talked about it. And this is kind of how I feel about the whole weed conversation in Kern County. And I don't know, what else can we apply? We shouldn't be having these conversations because honorable people should be just doing what honorable people do. Why do I even know who has a security clearance? I shouldn't. There should be this many people. And it shouldn't be a public discussion because they would if they were like my grandfathers, wouldn't open their mouths until they died, and then it would be too late. That's just me being judgmental. And by the way, Susan Rice still has security clearance. Susan Rice, every time I see that woman's face, she went on, 5 different TV shows the Sunday after Benghazi and said, oh, it was a video. It was a video. Terrible video. Terrible, terrible anti-Muslim video. Every time I see her, I think, how can she possibly have a security clearance? So, anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. You?
Again, I will say that it's much ado about nothing.
That's why that's how I feel about the weed thing.
It's much ado about nothing. I
don't want to have this conversation. I shouldn't be.
I think this whole thing with the Trump's payoff, and I can seriously sit here and I can tell you that I think that celebrities get targeted a lot for blackmail, infidelity. Sure. Yeah, whether it's true or not.
Right.
I could be.
Oh, really?
It could be considered, taken out of context. I don't have any on me right now. Was your shirt
on, Mel Gibson?
Yes, it was. My shirt was on, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All it takes is like one picture. Oh, you had contact with so and so.
I took a picture with Dolores Huerta once. With my girlfriend Tracy. And you know why? Because even though I can't stand anything the woman stands for, she's a piece of history. Mm-hmm. I'd have taken a picture with Obama. These people who refuse to go to the White House after they win a football game or a basketball thingamajig, what's wrong with you? You're part of history. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
But I think this whole thing is, again, they're just trying to find something to discredit him. And I think at this point in the game, I think a lot of people should just sit back and just admit defeat.
Yeah. Well, we all know that many of our presidents have been a little
loose,
girls on the side. Or boys. I'm not judging. Who am I? What do I know? Love is love. But here's the thing. This is like the worst thing a president has ever done, ever, is fool around with somebody. Okay, but we knew that when we elected him. We knew how many times he'd been married and divorced. We knew what a playboy he was in his past. We knew who we elected when we did it. And it must be horrible for Hillary Clinton to realize that we preferred him, with all of his bruises and black eyes, we preferred him to her. That's gotta hurt. That's really gotta hurt. But we knew what we were getting into when we elected him, and that's okay. But what were these women going to do? Come forward, make a claim, right? That's what Stormy Thingamajig did. Jack Daniels' daughter did. She made a claim. Mike, what's his name? The lawyer, Michael Cohen. What's he going to do? Make threats?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there was a 19-year-old girl under a desk in the Oval Office while a president was taking international phone calls. And Democrats didn't think that could bite him on the rear if that 19-year-old came back and said, I'm going to tell what I heard while I was on my knees. No, they don't care about that.
Really quickly, because you brought up another interesting point about the marijuana thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree with a couple of candidates that spoke at the town hall we had, because I do think that Kern County is missing out on an opportunity to bring in tech and to be able to supply jobs and taxes, and I think that we could provide a huge opportunity for those up north who are spending gobs of money on real estate and whatever to come down here.
I don't want them bringing their values. You Bay Area people.
No. Not necessarily their values, just their jobs.
Yeah.
Just their jobs and their money and the possibility of putting more money into our coffers so that we don't have to beg the Board of Supervisors for 1 cent.
And we will. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
I mean, just because money, we can promise that money's going to come in, that doesn't mean they're going to spend it wisely. That's why we have a tax on the ballot. But no, I think that's a really good point. And as I brought up to some people last night when we were talking about it, I'm pretty agnostic on this issue. But the problem is, years ago, Donna Youngblood was handing out permits because Kern County had approved of people to sell medicinal weed, and then he was the same guy going back with the ATF to raid those very shops that he'd given a permit to, and he finally said, I'm not issuing any more permits. I can't do it. And we can talk all day, and man, God bless the people who are going in front of the soups and all of that. I think you're great. I think you make some really valid arguments. But until the federal government no longer considers marijuana a whatever level drug, you will not have a bank who will accept their money. And if you don't have a bank that will accept their money, they're going to have to store their money, all cash business, blah, blah, blah. Now, it's not the only all cash business in the world. I pay my lawnmower guy, cash, and hope he does the right thing. I pay cash to my nail gal when I used to get my nails done. Funny, I had more beauty maintenance when I wasn't seen than I can afford now that I am seen. Anyway, but you understand what I'm saying? I mean, how would the county, gobs of money would be flowing in. How do we know? We're going to have to count on a money only or a cash only business that is illegal according to the feds to tell us what they made and pay us the taxes on that. I don't know about you, but I've always told my hairdresser and my manicurist, if you don't, I give them cash for a reason. It's on them. It's on them to report. And so, but when we hear about millions and billions and all that, man, that's an awful lot of money to not be able to keep track of. So I actually think that the county supervisors are in a bit of a
disadvantage.
Well, in a corner.
Or a quandary.
Yeah, because even if they would agree, the state would have to figure out a way, and they have tried, to have banks that are supported by the state, where marijuana dispensaries can turn in their cash money and honestly report it. You see the problem here? So the revenues argument doesn't work for me. The jobs argument doesn't work for me. But I get it. In spirit, I get it. I get what they're trying to do. And again, I don't care and I don't want to talk about it, and I'm really mad that I've been dragged into the conversation. I felt the same way about gay marriage. Hey, look, do whatever you want to do, but once it comes time for you to ask me permission, and that's how I feel about weed. Knock yourself out, baby. Grow it, smoke it, eat it, make brownies out of it. Those can be kick rear.
I'll see if I can bring you some.
Maybe that's why I went to sleep at 11 and woke up at 4 in the afternoon. No, I kid because I love. But I don't want to talk about it. I just miss the days when you stuck it under. All right, we will take a break and come back. The Secretary of State spoke today at a hearing on Capitol Hill. That's right, another hearing. And Pompeo, that's his name, right? Mike Pompeo. Where has he been all my life? That guy is bold. We'll talk about him on the other side of the break. All right, how about that? We'll be right back. I'm Inga. This is the Inga Barks Show from the fantabulous Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame. You gotta come down here and see one of their shows, or just check out the building. You'll want to get married, celebrate birthdays, have a funeral here. You'll want it all. Am I right? It's a beautiful building.
Don't give my wife any ideas.
About funerals, especially?
About birthdays.
About birthdays.
She wants me to have a big birthday party, and I'm kind of opposed.
For your big 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that over the break. So
I think once you become a grown-up, birthdays should become something you're. Of course, what's the alternative? You had to turn 50.
I don't have to do a damn thing.
Oh my! Well, excuse me. All right, we'll be right back. This is Kerncast on Facebook, YouTube. We're on YouTube, and Blue Sky Media. Grateful to be here. We'll be right back.
Your home is perfect. Until it's not. We understand that life has its changes. As your family grows, we're here to help grow with you. Because taking care of your family is important to you and important to us. Your story starts here with Cornerstone Mortgage.
Introducing the new California State Penitentiary Bologna Sandwich. Jail food sucks. Don't let your family eat jail food.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license is not going to suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
Oh, hey there. Caught me adjusting the belt, the waistline there. Look at this. Look at this. Goose can attest to this. These are the loudest pants you'll ever see me in.
Hold on, I got it.
I know.
I'll put my headphones back on.
Yeah, they're a huge statement for me. Because usually I'm in what? Black, jeans, black. So
which in this weather is a
death knell.
It's a
Right.
It's a challenge.
You had a great comment from Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon Martin chimed
I love you,
in.
Brandon.
He was
I
talking
love
about
you.
the security
I'm
clearances.
so privileged that you're listening or watching.
He was talking about the security clearances, and he said it was a good point. The Booz Allen consulting firm is literally built on the value of security clearances held by individuals who are now civilians. Mm-hmm. The assumption is their information and relationships are very valuable.
All right. Doesn't mean they're necessary. Doesn't mean I owe it to them. I mean, look, when I left the last radio station that I left, I didn't get to take the copy machine because I really would have liked it. Would have been very valuable. But I totally get it. I totally get it. And you know what, Brandon? I'm about to impress you so much. Of course, you probably have met all of the same people. But I'm watching the coverage today of the Trump tape thing, and I realized, oh my gosh, I am 1 degree of separation from the president. I've never met Donald Trump. But I interviewed and met Michael Cohen. And I thought he was hitchy. I thought he was kind of hinky. I did. Especially because he was a New Yorker and he would say things like, Mr. Trump would like. And his lawyer is Lanny Davis, former counsel of Bill Clinton.
Oh, wow.
Who felt me up while I was interviewing him in Philadelphia. He didn't feel me up. He went down my back like this while I was interviewing him and went a little bit further down my back, down my lower, very lower back in the crackle region, and then he brought his hand back up. What am I going to do? C-SPAN is filming. What am I going to do? So let's see. Michael Cohen, Lanny Davis, of course the Hannity connection. That one's easy. Let's see. Heather Nauert, now a member of the Trump administration, former Fox anchor. She and I grew very close during the 9/11 days. And Brandon Martin had a crush on her. Then we got, what do we have next? Mike Pence, met him, been there, done that. Who else is involved in this? Oh, Rudy Giuliani. Met him, interviewed him, done that. I mean, I am this close. Newt Gingrich, I'm this close to sitting in the Oval Office on a chair and saying howdy do to the president. This close, folks. Just give me some time. And some time, what do you call it? Where you go back in time. Some time travel so I could be a size 6 again in my 30s. All right, Mike Pompeo spoke today at a hearing. It might even still be going on. And I'll tell you what, the vast difference between the Senate and the House. It was explained to me long ago about the state legislature, and I think it translates over to the national, at the national level, and that is that your House or your Assembly are a little bit more herding cats than your senators, who are brilliant and follow all the rules and are stuffy. And so I have to admit, I kind of miss what's the guy's name? What happened to him? Al, Minnesota. Al, the Franken. Where did he go? He used to be so great at accusing Republican politicians of investing in the same things his retirement fund is invested in, that are oil companies. It's hilarious. I miss that guy. But I guess you can't do this in a picture on a plane and want to be high profile. But Pompeo was asked about what happened in that meeting between Putin and Trump. And I have to be honest with you guys. I don't know about you, but nobody yet has established why I should know what the two men spoke about. Is there some law that I don't know about where a president has to allow cameras and microphones into every single meeting he has with world leaders? I'm unfamiliar with that, but I'm willing to accept the possibility. So I come to this hearing today thinking, first of all, did I have to be part of any of it? Does the president have an obligation? They're going to get the interpreter in the room and Mike Pompeo, who wasn't in the room, to tell them what the president did and didn't say, what conversations he and Putin had. Do I have a right to that? I honestly, I don't know. But I think it's pretty remarkable. The Senate is a little bit more adult than is the House, in the way that they ask questions, the manner in which they speak, all of that kind of stuff. But Mike Pompeo is unlike the people who testified before the House, like, what's his head, Stroke, who was a jerk. He was a jerk. Rosenstein, arrogant cuss. Who's the tall guy? I can't keep track. Who's the tall guy? John something, who was at the FBI. Jim Comey. Jim Comey was an arrogant cuss. Hillary Clinton before the House, Benghazi, arrogant cuss. And Mike Pompeo just sits there and he just answered questions. He was kind of smart-alecky at points, but I was okay with the snarkiness because you could see it in his face. He was so confident in what he was doing. There's an old Saturday Night Live skit with Martin Short where he plays the lawyer of a tobacco company or something like that. And it's like a little mini documentary where the interviewer, who I think is a pretend Mike Wallace, played by Harry Shearer, who I love, met him too. Same night I met Lanny Davis.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, Lanny also gave me his card with his hotel room number on it. And he said I looked like his wife.
Yeah.
From that point, I told my dear friend Sean Hannity about that sometime later. Sorry, I keep mentioning Sean, but I just love him so. And so from that point on, for like 10 years, I would tell him about a trip I took with a coworker, or a dinner I had to go to, fundraiser, with a coworker that was a man. He'd go, did you get the Davis? Did he give you the Davis? Where were we? Pompeo. I really can't tell you much about the content of what he was saying, because a lot of it was just defending the Trump White House. And it got to the point of nastiness with one senator. I don't remember which one it was. I was listening, not watching. In which he said, there's three ways to settle this. And the first way is for the president to release his tax records. Because, you see, we don't know that when Trump went into that room with Putin that he wasn't negotiating a real estate deal. Yes, that's what Trump is doing. The man who wants to make America great again, whether you appreciate everything he does, like the tariffs, etc., or you don't. He's not going to go into a room with Putin and go, hey, we'll give you more nukes if you let me have a hotel. He loves his country.
I think he found a home in Leningrad or St. Petersburg or something.
Did he?
Yeah.
Let's do some barter, some scratching of the back here, Putin. Did you know that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, which, by the way, people in this area would probably call him Delano, right? Spelled the same. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do you know what he referred to? Okay, do you know what he called Stalin? Joseph Stalin, one of the biggest murderers of the 20th century, murdered millions of his own, and then some, believed in Stalin's blah, 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 and Marx and all that good stuff. Roosevelt called him Uncle Joe. Yeah. So, anyway. I guess I just don't get the politics of it all, and I don't like it. And Pompeo kept saying that. I'm not delving into the politics of this with you. And then there were some things he just couldn't answer. He said, I can't, like they asked if North Korea was still proliferating, and he said, or is proliferate the right word? I don't even think I could spell that.
Proliferate. Just do the shorter version of it.
I was thinking yesterday of telling somebody in a card that we are inextricably connected. And then I thought, I don't even know if I can spell it or if I'm even pronouncing it correctly. So any old who, that's what I got for you so far. And that's without looking at my notes. And weren't they copious?
Yeah, I was listening to some of that Pompeo.
Yeah,
fiasco.
He's solid. He knows what he knows. What he knows.
He kept telling Menendez, because the same thing you were telling.
Menendez that was taking money from a dentist who would fly him and Bill Clinton to his island where he had underage girls. That Bob Menendez?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, carry on.
Yeah, it sounded like
Allegedly.
Whatever. I mean, Pompeo could have laid out everything right in front of him. Menendez would have kept asking him the same question over and over again. And
that's what Al what's his head used to do.
And Pompeo kept telling him, "Look, nothing's changed." And then they said the same thing we were talking about. What was the interpreter in the room? Did the interpreter tell you what was going? Did the interpreter? And Pompeo's like, "What didn't matter to what the interpreter said?"
You know what? You just made a great point. I'm really annoyed now. Did they have a sign language interpreter from Russian to English? Remember that guy in Africa?
Oh yeah. But it just seemed like there were a bunch of petty, whiny people interviewing Pompeo.
And we're paying them.
And when he wouldn't give them the answer they wanted, they would just continue to harass him.
Well, we'll have to have a private session then. Well, we'll have to arrange for that then. It's just, it was, but it always is. I mean, I'm not going to get the Republicans, I'm not going to let them off the hook. I mean, I think it was Obamacare, the first time I really noticed that these people, when they have their press conferences after a bill has been signed, it has nothing to do with us and all about them. I'd like to thank my colleague to the right for their fantastic work. We couldn't have done this without, it's like an Academy Award speech. Except they never acknowledge God. So anyway, that was the Pompeo, and I do encourage you to watch the clips if you get a chance.
Yeah, I actually tried to get a couple off, and apparently CNN is not letting them be released.
Sequestered still?
I guess so.
I know where I was going with the story about, what's his name, the comedian. Martin Short playing the lawyer to a... This is how Democrats always come across to me. And I wish, I've looked for it for years, and I never can find it online. But he's smoking a cigarette almost until it's like a nub. And he's going... I don't know about smoking killing people. What are you talking about? You're killing people. You're killing people. How does that feel? And he's like sweating. And he goes on, what do you mean it's unhealthy? I'm perfectly healthy. I'm fine. You're the one who's unhealthy. That's what I think of when I think of the Democrats or the people who have spoken before, Rosenstein and John, what's his head? And especially Stroke. So anyway, do you remember that?
I do remember
skit?
That skit.
And he'd, like, the cigarette would be so tiny, and the ash would be, he'd have the long ash, and he'd be saying, "It's not me, it's you. You're the one. We didn't do anything." His hand would be like shaking. I always got a kick out of that. So anyway, there's what we got. I had a long slew comments on my Facebook last night about that word that we learned yesterday, Latinx. It's the way of saying, so much in Spanish and French, and I'm sure other I was going to say religions, other nationalities, languages say use the feminine and the masculine, right? Mm-hmm. So X is the way of saying we're not going to identify them. Well, then why did you start this female American, gay American, yada yada stuff? Why did you start all this? Not only that, but my mother's middle name is French. It's Lynn, Lynnne. The E at the end signifies feminine. If I have to put an X there, she's going to be Lynx, which is kind of cool, because my mom is a cool cat. But it's going to be Lynx. And I got a lot of conversation out of that with people.
Pray tell.
Well, it was just a long thread of people making fun of it. I mean, liberals are the ones who started all this crud of having to, hyphenate everybody. And now even the hyphenated have hyphenates. Is that a word?
Hyphenates?
Yeah, it is not a word. Hyphens.
No, it's not hyphenates.
No, it's hyphens.
Hyphens?
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, you say things sometimes, and when they come out of your mouth, you hear them, and you go, "Wait a second." I'm not perfect. I'm not perfectly skilled on reading, writing, arithmetic, spelling. Puncture is my worst. I'm terrible at it.
Punctuate?
My punctuation?
Punctuation.
Yeah, that's what I should have said. See? But last night, 11 o'clock, I'm watching Channel 17 to see if they do any coverage of the Latinx thing. And they were covering a story of 2 women rescued out of the river. Okay. Now, I'm not sure who the anchor was. I think I know, but I never saw their face. 2 young women rescued from the river. Why would you not want to get in the river? It's 106 degrees outside, right? That river is so beautiful and calling to you. Oh, here's a reason. One of them doesn't know how to swim. I have a friend who doesn't know how to swim, who won't even sit on the deck of a swimming pool because he doesn't know how to swim. I don't know how you can live in California and not know how to swim. I mean, it's like, we were all pretty much born with webbed fingers. In my experience. Do you have webbed fingers?
No,
no, you have stubby
ones. No, I do not. I have very short
fingers. You got stubs. Yeah, I like it.
This is why I cannot work on cars.
I don't think Stormy Daniels, you could have kept up with her either.
I don't think she cares. I have something for you.
Okay, but I gotta say this. The anchor then says that, and I can find the direct quote, but it was something along the lines of this. Of the women, one of them didn't know how to swim. but both women did not have, but neither woman did not have life vests. And that's one of those things where I go, what did they just...
Neither women did not have life vests.
So they had life vests? It's got to be tough to read a prompter. I mean, it's tough to go on the fly to shoot from the hip, you know, like we do in this business. But at least my mistakes are mine. Can you imagine reading on a teleprompter something so badly written that you're reading it, so it's got to be said, but you just want to wring somebody's neck?
I loved it when I still worked at KERN. Mm-hmm. And I would go in and I would read.
I remember that place.
And I would read. This is when they still did live news. Mm-hmm. And I would read.
Man, they were kicking on the live news.
I would read whatever it was that was written for them to read. Mm-hmm. And I would go, who wrote this? Because it was just worded so poorly. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, one of the reporters there would be like, oh, I wrote that. And I would just and be like, oh, okay. Because I didn't know what to do. Because what's wrong with it? Well, you know, it just sounds confusing when it's like, well, you just don't understand how I'm supposed to read this.
Okay,
fine.
I mean, I write like I talk.
Yeah.
But if I read over it, if I bother to proof it, I'll see all of the miserable things I've done. Except for the commas. I love commas. Commas are huge. But anyway, when I was over there, a 19-year-old Rachel, what's wrong with me? Ligon.
Okay.
She was an anchor and the news director.
Oh, okay.
And you should have seen her at 5 o'clock in the morning ripping down the hallway to the copywriters going, who wrote this? And she was 19. You didn't know Rachel?
I've heard of her. I've never met her.
Oh, she's great. Great gal.
There's a lot of people. I used to work with. I worked with Misty Reed. I worked with Daniel Sullivan.
Misty was my producer.
I worked with Daniel Sullivan for a little while. Mm-hmm. I worked with one of the guy who he does the news over at KZR.
Bill Curtis.
Bill Curtis was amazing.
He is. He's a great guy.
Bill Curtis was amazing.
He's a great guy.
And one of the most, I'd say, fun and gentle people to work with.
He is. He is definitely.
You know, if I screwed up, he'd just look at me and laugh. He's like, what the hell? What are you doing to me?
The last time I was hauled off to a hospital before I went on the tube down my throat, he texted me, and I didn't get the text for like a month because I was asleep, induced. And but all he said was, Inga, you okay? Mm. He was so sweet. I love that man.
But I've heard of Rachel Ligon, but I don't think I ever worked with her.
She is pretty remarkable. You know, she was married to a man who was well known by reputation. He just hadn't been identified as a rapist. He was having real estate agents come show him houses. Rachel's doing the stories. Well, she doesn't know. Mm-hmm. So she's doing the stories. One night she comes home and a police officer that all of us knew was pulling up to her house. And she said, and they said to her, how did you find out we were going to be at this address? She said, this is my house. They were coming to arrest her husband. Oh, wow. She did that story. I'll never forget it. I remember exactly where I was, Burger King drive-thru, Gosford, listening to her tell the story, and never would I have had a clue that that was her husband.
Wow.
Pro all the way. I wouldn't have been able to get through that. That's harsh.
Yeah, that is harsh.
That is harsh. What's somebody saying?
Oh, no, I have something for you.
Oh, no.
I think you'll like this.
Okay, well, there's my face. I don't like that.
Hold on.
The 2,000 top scientists from 100 nations around the world have now declared the international consensus that global warming exists, that we are causing it, and that the impacts are going to be catastrophic.
So what are you saying?
Did you know that since 1988, we've had the 9 hottest years on record?
I know that. You don't think I know that? I represent the oil companies. I would be very aware of that.
Did you know that your oil industry clients receive $65 billion a year in taxpayer-funded subsidies from our federal government?
Of course I know that. But we give a lot of that money back to congressmen and to the White House.
You know, scientists are predicting this year for the first time that the East Antarctic ice sheet and the Greenland ice sheet may break off. If that happens, Mr. Thurm, Manhattan Island will be under 12 feet of water.
I mean, listen, I like Manhattan, but it's filthy. It's a filthy city. I don't think we can deny that, with a severe rat problem. Also, the theater scene in Manhattan is far from superb. Endless musicals. Most men don't like musicals, Bobby.
England's top scientist, Dr. David King, has recently said that global warming poses a greater threat to national security and to international stability than terrorism.
Well, he would say that. He's a scientist.
Well, it's your companies and your industry that is financing all these phony think tanks on Capitol Hill.
You're not financing all these phony
with these
think
phony
tanks.
scientists who are trying to deceive the American people by proclaiming that global warming
But
doesn't
you're
exist.
saying this. This is just something you're saying.
I have it right here on
No,
papers.
you're not letting me finish. See, you're interrupting me.
No,
Every time I try to make a statement, yes, you do. This is what's called the liberal tactic.
I'm
And
not
no one buys
interrupting
it.
you.
Yes, you are. You just did it again.
You're
Every time
interrupt-
Can I say something? Can I speak?
Mr. Thurm, these are your own tax returns from your industry, from your company.
What do you have on your paper? Let me see this.
I have your own.
Let me see.
But I absolutely loved that. It's awesome.
You're back on.
That is so very awesome. Thank you so much for finding that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it took a little bit, but I was able to find it.
No, that's very funny. And by the way, you know, the thing is RFK Jr. really believed this stuff. That he's saying that Manhattan's going to fall into the ocean and all this stuff. He's like, these are serious questions. He actually believed that. Now, these were filmed, I believe, when was Martin Short on Saturday Night Live? Late 80s?
Mid-80s, I think.
Yeah. So this was a long time ago. This has been long time coming.
Which leads me to ask you another thing.
Yes, I have the brilliance to answer it.
Have you seen the thing that's been going on with Sacha Baron Cohen and his new show?
Oh, well, okay.
And how he got that Georgia congressman.
Use epitaphs. And, you know, I don't like him.
I'm not a big fan of his either.
I've never been. And I loved Will Ferrell's Talladega Nights.
Okay.
Loved it. I didn't even mind when Sacha Baron Cohen was reading Camus while he was racing. I thought that was hilarious. But I can't stand that man. I don't like the way his mouth forms. I don't like whatever accent that is he claims to have. And I do not like people who take advantage of other people's naivete to make them look like fools. I have no interest in that. If somebody wants to look like a fool on their own, that's fine. What was that first movie that he made? Borat Goes to America, or Borat, or whatever?
Yeah, that's one of them.
And he set people up to look stupid. And there's plenty of stupid people in the world. Go find them. Mm-hmm. You know, and so that's my opinion about him. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Well, I wanted to get your opinion about what happened when he got that Georgia congressman.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say essentially he had to resign today.
Did he?
He resigned today after all that had happened. I agree with you. I don't like his tactics. I think he sets this whole stuff up to embarrass people. Mm-hmm. I think Ted, from what I read, Ted Koppel caught him and had him thrown out.
Dick Cheney wasn't so lucky.
Yep.
And you know, when you're in that environment of being interviewed, it's stressful. I don't care how many times you've done it. It's stressful, and they didn't know who he was. And I have no respect for that man whatsoever. I'm sorry the congressman quit, but he resigned, but he also probably shouldn't have said those things. I mean, think about it. If Sacha Baron Cohen asked you to stand up, and what was it that he did? He used a racial...
Yeah, he said the N-word several times as a word. And then they got video of well, two things. One, basically, the guy claimed that if a woman's wearing a burqa, you want to upskirt her with a phone to see if she's carrying a bomb, and she showed that, and I thought that was. And then the one that I think that really got him was that he got the guy to pull his pants down on camera, and then basically said that the guy would be afraid to be labeled homosexual if you backed up to him with your bare butt. And I'm like, how does he get these people to do this stupid stuff?
Because they're stupid.
You know?
So he obviously doesn't deserve the job. I mean, I don't even say the N-word in my head to myself. Mm-hmm. Wait, I just did. Sorry. That's because I was thinking about it. But he could not get me to drop my pants and use a racial slur. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't happen. And that's not because I'm a goody two-shoes. It's because I'm smarter than him. But I have been made to look foolish before. I interviewed Donald Rumsfeld once at the White House. And the Washington Post, mm-hmm. not the Times, but the Post, had a recording, because they were running tape on all of it. They only reported on my conversation with Rumsfeld before the interview. So it was just he and I just sitting there, and me saying, how's your Christmas lining up? Do you like being called Uncle Rummy? We're just visiting, we're just chit-chatting. And they didn't put in, what's it called? It starts
subtitles?
With a T. It starts with a T. No, it was the Post, so it was online, it was writing.
Oh.
Anyway, they didn't transcribe the actual interview. And that, you feel pretty stupid about that, you do. Later, you kind of do. But anyway, so yeah, I'm sorry that the congressman quit, but I imagine if he were my congressman, I'd want him to quit too. I'd say, dude, you're over your head. If you can't discern, this kind of evil bum. So anyway, Sacha Baron Cohen, the way his mouth moves.
Yeah, his show's now come under fire, and I don't know how much longer Showtime will keep it. But I agree. He's like a shock jockey. He's like someone that just does it to.
No, I didn't like Howard. What's his name either?
Mr. Stern.
Yeah, couldn't stand the TV show.
No, that's still going pretty strong.
Is it? But he's on out
it's
there.
It's on a cable network that's.
Yeah. Couldn't take it. But on the issue of the congressman who dropped his pants and used the N-word, mm-hmm. it kind of goes back to the Latinx.
Pray tell.
Latino, Latina, or Latinx with an X. Somebody on my Facebook page, after a long thread of conversation, just basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically said, we live in a time where everybody wants to be special. And they want to be special on the world stage. Their visions of self-aggrandizement, another word I don't think I've ever written, their need for that is tragically high. I mean, how else would you think you could get away as a congressman of the United States of America who can vote to go to war, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to drop my pants. That's how much we think of ourselves these days. Mm-hmm. Single me out. I've got to have a new name for me. I'm the no gender. I'm the no gender Latinx. It's just tiresome. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. All right, take a break. That's good news.
Well, actually, we're at 4:30.
What?
It's 4:30.
And?
Okay, we'll take a quick break.
I'm having fun shooting from the hip.
Okay.
I am. There's news about plastic straws.
Okay.
Don't you want to know the news about plastic straws?
We will talk about plastic straws on the way back.
All right, we'll do. All right. There it is. I found the story. Got it for you. Plastic straw ban in Santa Barbara has jail time.
What?
I'll tell you about it. My favorite city in the state. I'm not going to lie. I knew they were socialists, but jail time for using a straw? Then it better have some BBs in it that I'm blowing in somebody's face. All right, we'll be right back. We'll close her up when we get back. I'm Inga, and this is my show here at Blue Sky Media and Kerncast. We'll be right back.
Patriot Bail Bonds has the best customer service in Bakersfield. Patriot has more 5-star ratings than any bail company in Kern County. Plus, we're fast and affordable. If you run into the law, make Patriot Bail Bonds your first call. That's right, one call, that's all.
If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail.
Your home is perfect. Until it's not. We understand that life has its changes. As your family grows, we're here to help grow with you. Because taking care of your family is important to you and important to us. Your story starts here with Cornerstone Mortgage.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license does not go into suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
Introducing the new California State Penitentiary Bologna Sandwich. Jail food sucks. Don't let your family eat jail food.
Hey there. Well, welcome back. We're going to close her out because I think Denise has a guest coming in tonight.
Yeah, the last I heard, I think Supervisor David Couch was coming on today.
He's my favorite of the Couches, except for those Davenport boys. I loved them. You got to be older to get the.
I got it. I was trying to come up with something, but nothing came to my head. So
really, Love Seat.
Love Seat. Well, what's the one that's like it wraps around?
Ottoman, wrap around.
Sectional. That's
sectional.
Sectional.
Are you saying sexual?
No, I'm not saying sexual.
You can't because it has an X in it, so it doesn't apply to anyone. All right. Santa Barbara authorizes jail time for handing out straws. I love Santa Barbara. I love it. It is so sad when I'm pulling away and leaving town and I can see the rigs, the oil rigs out off in the distance in the ocean. Even better at night at the breakwater when you can see those platforms out there. Oh, God, I just love Santa Barbara. But anyway, the city of Santa Barbara, according to National View, City of Santa Barbara has passed an ordinance that will allow restaurant employees to be punished with up to 6 months of jail time.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. Or a $1,000 fine for giving plastic straws to their customers. The bill was passed unanimously last Tuesday. Well, ordinance. And covers bars, restaurants, and other food service businesses. Sorry, armless people. You'll have to just stick your tongue in there and give it the old college try. Sorry, people whose jaws have been wired shut.
Well, they say they're going to use the paper straws.
I know. How's that going to work? Have you ever tried to drink with a pixie stick? It's not an enjoyable experience. No. Except you do get the last of that sugary goodness. Santa Barbara's ordinance is likely the most severe straw ban. Can you imagine the founders going, you mean straw man? No, straw ban. Santa Barbara is likely the most severe ban in the country, according to Reason. Well, that's a very, very libertarian magazine, but they're good. I like them. But it's far from the only straw ban. Seattle banned plastic straws earlier this month, mandating AA. Yeah, they're the ones who typed it. $250 fine for violators. Santa Barbara, however, has gone much further than Seattle. Even aside from their harsher punishments, Santa Barbara has banned not only plastic straws, but also compostable straws. So straws you would throw in poop. Right? Isn't that what what compost is?
Yeah.
You got a little place in your backyard, you got a little dugout, you throw all the dog poop and rose petals and stuff in there, stir it around every once in a while.
Supposed to make good fertilizer.
Right. Compostable, impossible straws. Santa Barbara has banned not only plastic straws, but also compostable straws. And each individual straw counts as a separate infraction. So if you're a waiter and you're black marketing straws to your customers, you're going to have to give that one up, my friend.
I got to ask real quick.
Yeah, what? There's no answer.
What's going to happen if I go to Santa Barbara
with your own
and
straw?
I go in well, with my own straw it'd be different. But I go into a restaurant and I ask for a straw.
They would have to tell you, I guess, sir, dear sir, while we appreciate your patronage, I will be arrested if I give you a straw. And then someone, if he did give you the straw, there's some mealy-mouthed busybody on the phone, 911. Yes, is this 911? Do you remember the woman who was called racist because the family who happened to be black were coal burning in the part of a park in Northern California where they weren't supposed to be barbecuing with coal? And she called 911. Oh my gosh. I mean, it was stupid, but she was right. So these people, they'll be right. They'll just be stupid. But I can see it now. 911, this is an emergency. What is your emergency, ma'am? There is a plastic straw being delivered to the table next to me. You think that won't happen in Santa Barbara? Oh, that'll happen in Santa Barbara. They won't do anything about their homeless problem, right? And it's huge. They won't do anything about their illegal immigration problem, and it's huge. But straws, you best not have one. So that's just good stuff right there. Let's see. Glad we live in a society with laws, for example. The thing is we shouldn't even be having this conversation. I mean, the words should not be coming out of my mouth. Those words strung together should not exist. You will go to jail for giving me a straw. Right? I mean, those just should not be put together in any form. So anyway, that's Santa Barbara for you. Yeah, I love it. I was listening to an LA station earlier today, and they were talking about those electric scooters. I talked about them a couple of times. I don't fully understand this in Northern and Southern California, but they've got these scooters, and people drive them to their next location. They pay for it with a credit card or an app or something, and then they park it, and somebody else can pick up the scooter and pay for it with the app and take her for a spin. Well, people are annoyed by these things. At one point, I know San Francisco was talking about making them, they can't be on the sidewalk. They've got to be in the bike lane. I mean, all kinds of good stuff like that. Well, apparently in Southern California, it's gone another notch. People are actually throwing them off cliffs. They are. And setting them on fire. So what does this have to do with straws? I'll tell you what it has to do with straws. Oh, your car is so gas guzzling, you're killing the planet. If you would please ride a bike. Okay, I'll ride a bike. And then I get hit. Oh, you're killing the environment with your car. You should carpool. Do you know anybody who carpools? I don't know anybody. Yeah, even the carpool lane isn't people carpooling. It's people who just happen to have their kids in the car. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jerry Brown thought that the carpool lane would ease traffic. A lot of good that did, because you only let a few people on it. How could it ease traffic? Anyway, I'm just saying. Then you go, okay, well, I want to be good to the planet. I can't afford parking. I'll get one of these scooter app things, and I'll just drive the scooter around. Well, now you're parking on sidewalks. You're getting in people's face. You're interfering with the flow of pedestrians. So people start getting mad at you about them. And so LA is working on, or now Beverly Hills, I think is what I heard on the news story, has banned them altogether. Now you don't have a car anymore. All because you wanted to save the planet. You got the paper, you got the cloth bag that you must, if you put meat in your, like chicken at the grocery store in your cloth bag, wash your dang cloth bag, because it's gonna have chicken stuff in it. Now, when you do wash it, of course, you're wasting a lot of water, which is killing the planet. Right? It's all killing the planet. Styrofoam is killing the planet. You must use recyclable. All right, we got the recycle bin. We're doing all the recyclables. Uh-oh, nobody wants to buy Bakersfield's recyclables anymore. Now, whatever will we do? Every time government touches something to make the world a better place, they pretty much make it worse, barring the military. And then you've given up your car. Heck, you've given up the ability to buy a house at a reasonable price. Do you know there are people who are fleeing California to avoid paying taxes? Now, these are people who make big money. They're going to Nevada. There's a Supreme Court ruling coming down, apparently, on this subject, because the state of California chased this guy, this one guy who moved to Nevada, and they said, you owe us X millions of dollars or whatever in taxes. And he said, I live in Nevada. And they said, no, you made your money in California. Well, if it's good enough for football players, I guess it's probably good enough for him. And yet, so far, the courts are with him. So very interesting. There's other news about open carry being legalized in California, or a judge overturning a ruling that made open carry illegal. That's pretty remarkable right there in the state of California. Ninth Circuit. And so there's a lot going on in the world, and it's not all just in Washington, D.C. You know, kids, when we were kids, a half hour of news a night was all we needed. Mm-hmm. Half hour local, half hour national. And for some crazy, wacky reason, outside of Nixon and Watergate, I don't remember a lot of it being about those wonderful people who we voted into office in Sacramento. Oh, they were part-time back then. Or in Washington, D.C. It was about you and your life and global cooling back then. Anyway, enjoy your plastic straws. My mother actually loaded me up with plastic straws. And I'm going to put them on the little tines in the dishwasher. You know that you put where they hold up your plate. I'm just going to stick straws on those and send them through, and then I'll go to Santa Barbara and I will sell them for $2 a piece. All right, kids, you have a wonderful day. Have a great day. Have a wonderful rest of day. Again, happy birthday, Daddy, and love ya. And Goose, thanks for getting us through. And hopefully we got a Dave Couch sighting coming up. Yep. That's awesome. Right on, right on. All right. Well, we will see you tomorrow. I look so forward to it. I'm Inga, broadcasting from the Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame with Kerncast and Blue Sky Media. This is the Inga Barks Show. We'll see you tomorrow.